Hello students, today we are going to study the chapter Keeping Quiet. As you all know the meaning of this keeping quiet, and it is written by Pablo Neruda. Before we start the chapter, let us discuss about the author, Pablo Neruda. The real name of Pablo Neruda was Neftali Ricardo Reyes Basualto. This was a real name of the author Pablo Neruda, and he was born in the year 1904 and he died in the year 1973, and date is July 12. So he was born on July 12, 1904 in Parral, Chile. Neruda spent his early childhood in Temuco and began contributing some articles to the daily La Manana at the age of 13. Then in 1920, he adopted the pen name Pablo Neruda in the memory of Ceylon, Java, Singapore, Buenos Aires, Barcelona and Madrid as an honorary consul. His literary breakthrough came in the form of Residencia and Lateria in 1933, and it was a collection of Scottish surrealistic poems. Until his death on September 23, date of his death was September 23, 1973, Pablo remained active in the political and literary arena of his country. He was forced to live in and out of Chile on several occasions due to his political views and activities and diplomatic assignments. Neruda continued to write prolifically. Much of his poetry bears a stamp of his political activities and is an expression of his repression during his exile. Now among his well-known works are Espana. Let me write for you well-known works. Espana en a Corazon. That was in 1937. A collection of poems, Canti General de Chile, an epic poem about the whole South American continent, its nature, its people and its historical destiny. Neruda was conferred the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. When he got the Nobel Prize? 1971. Now let's discuss about the poem. Pablo Neruda was critical of any kind of political social operation, so his poem Keeping Quiet is a call for introspection of all human beings. This poem is a call for introspection for all human beings, okay, who have divided themselves on the basis of race, language, nationalities. So the poem is presented in the form of an exercise for meditation in silence. You know what is meditation? So it is the exercise for meditation in silence. In these moments of silence, one can break the shackles of discrimination, hatred, violence and create an exotic moment of togetherness. In such inactivity and silence, we can feel the strength of humanity. Now let's discuss about the summary of the poem. The poem begins on a note of meditation and introspection. The poet asks the readers to count 12 as a beginner to an exercise of meditation and then asks them to sit still. So this poem is on meditation and introspection. He implores them not to speak any language and for some time not involve themselves in any movement. So this movement of extreme silence will be an exotic one with no rush of life and no noise of the engineers. So the poet believes in the moment of silence one can experience the strength of together. So in silence one can experience the togetherness, a sudden, strange relationship to which humanity binds itself. In this exotic moment of silence, the fisherman would be inactive and not harm the whales, and even the man gathering the salt will get some time for his hectic schedule from his hectic schedule to look at his hands and reflect at the pain and harm his strenuous task has caused him. When everyone on earth thinks of keeping quiet for someone and does not involve in oneself in any activity, that moment will be a bliss. People who are all the time engaged in preparing themselves for chemical wars which will leave no survivors behind ought to find time to wear clean clothes and walk around with their brothers, strengthening the message of peace and brotherhood. Now, what is the poet doing? The poet cautions that his thoughts should not be confused with total inactivity. Life certainly process and should not be associated with the death. But he categorically feels that if for once we do not focus ourselves single-mindedly on keeping our lives moving, but spend some time in deep silence doing nothing, we have to spend some time in the silence and we don't have to do anything that time when we are doing meditation, and we can rid ourselves of the sadness of isolation. In that hour of introspection and silence, we will find time to understand ourselves better and escape from the threatening cause of death. We will feel peace in ourselves. And the poet feels the earth teaches us how everything comes to a dead end and then comes to life again. By the experiences in our life we see, and in the same manner from this hour of silence, introspection and inactivity one can learn the need to bring all evil thoughts to their end and to revive a new life of peace and tranquility. So the poet brings an end to this session of meditation, instructing men to keep quiet and then leaves them in deep introspection. Now, let's discuss the theme of the poem. It is said that if speech is silver, silence is golden. What does it mean? If we are saying something, it is good. But if we are silent on a particular period, on a particular time, at times if we get silent, then it is the golden part of our life. It is a saying that if we fight by answering someone's question, it is not at all effective. But if we are keeping quiet, if somebody is fighting with us, then it is more effective. Silence is the best arm we can use. So for in the vast treasure of deep silence, one can find a large resource of peace and tranquility. Why? Because if we are silent, we will get peace as well as tranquility. And in the hidden recesses of silence, all digressions disappear, for one is with oneself at one's peaceful best. Silence creates an exotic moment where one forgets one's differences, wars come to a standstill, and a feeling of brotherhood prevails. So the poem Keeping Quiet celebrates the necessity of introspection and the advantage of doing nothing. For some time in life, much of the evil disappears in the depths of a silent and inactive life. For if man at one point of time does nothing, life on earth can become a heaven for those moments of life. Now, let's discuss the title. Why this title, Keeping Quiet? You know, why this title? Let's discuss the title now. Why the title of this poem is Keeping Quiet? Why? So the title Keeping Quiet emphasizes the necessity of quiet introspection, and it creates a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Why? Because it creates a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. And it conveys Neruda's philosophy of an exotic moment of silence and inactivity, which can be an antidote to war, violence, hatred, exploitation, and turmoil. By keeping quiet, mankind can try to understand itself and stop harming itself with death and destruction. Thus, the title is very appropriate. Now, on the basis of reading this poem, you have to answer the following questions. Question number 1 is on the basis of extract. It would be an exotic moment. Without rush. Without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now, question number 1. What would be an exotic moment for the poet? Question number 2. Explain without rush, without engines. And third question is, how, according to the poet, can men be brought together? And then question number 2, what suggestion does the poet give to men to avoid these wars? I hope you will be able to answer the questions. That's all for this chapter. Thank you.